I'm here at the beautiful Manor House Inn in Ditchett, and I'm joined today by, well, I suppose, the Lord of the Manor, or at least the Lord of Manor House Stables. A man who needs very little introduction to National Hunt fans. He's 11-time champion trainer, Paul Nicholls. Paul, thank you very much for joining us today for this edition of Memory Lane.
Yeah, not at all. It's good to do it.
And this is your local, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It seems to end up in here most days when we know this great. You know, when you're looking after lots of people, owners and friends, and that, it's good to have a good local right on your doorstep, so it's ideal.
Excellent. And I said you didn't need much of an introduction, but I'm just going to spin through some of the headline numbers from your career to date. 11 times champion trainer, as we've mentioned, 124 Grade 1 winners to date.
To date, yeah.
45 Cheltenham Festival winners, 4 Gold Cups, 11 King Georges, a Grand National, over 3,000 jumps winners trained in Great Britain. There's obviously some more overseas as well. Only 12 flat winners.
Yeah.
What's going on there?
Well,
disappointing?
Megan says that's a bit disappointing. But I was never really interested in the flat, and it was the 12 flat runners. I think Megan's ridden them all. They just helped Megan on her way the last couple of years, and I've enjoyed it. And always have one or two that could do it. But we did buy some 2-year-olds a couple of years ago and have a go with those. But that won't be happening again. It doesn't suit around here. The older staying horse is great, but not 2-year-olds.
Yeah. Obviously, I was only putting your leg.
Yeah, but, it was good fun to get her going.
Yeah, and obviously those numbers are pretty significant. You've done incredibly well as a trainer. But as I understand it, you're not actually from a horsey background.
Not at all. My father and grandfather both in the police force. No connection with horses whatsoever. So I've come a long way really from nowhere. It's just a different career path really. I was never interested in doing what Dad and Granddad did, and just got hooked from an early age on ponies and racing.
I was going to say, so how did you get into it? What was it that drew you in?
I think what happened, if I seem to recollect it, somebody won, when I was a lot younger, 7 or 8, might even been younger than that, bought me as a Christmas present some riding lessons at a riding school which wasn't too far away from home, and Dad took me up there, and I can remember it now like it was yesterday. Funny enough, I rode a pony called Tiny Tim, managed to drop me twice, and I thought that was great fun, and had a few more lessons and got on okay and enjoyed it, and persuaded Dad to buy me a pony.
Okay.
And Dad really enjoyed that. It was something new for him, and so we did quite well with the ponies, doing all the gymkhanas and that, myself and my sister. Then I persuaded Dad to let me go pony racing. So we did some pony racing when they used to race in the New Forest in Flapping, it was called then. It was sort of frowned upon a little bit really, but we did some pony racing, and I got just hooked on racing. My grandfather was racing mad, and I can always remember Grandad. I used to go on a Saturday afternoon. They used to have the ITV7 and sit down and watch all the racing with him. From when Richard Pittman was riding, we used to call him Crunchy Pittman, and so I got quite hooked on it through having a pony, and watching the racing with my granddad, and just went from there really.
And were you brought up here in Somerset?
No, Bristol really, in sort of Almondsbury, Ulverston sort of area, which is right near the Severn Bridge actually. So I went to school there. We had some ponies there at home, which we always had a couple of good ponies, and ended up, once I'd left school, I used to go and ride out for a guy called Dick Bainbridge, who's a very, very successful, one of the best point-to-point trainers you'll ever have come across, and I probably learned more from him in the early days than anybody, and I used to go and ride out for him weekends on spare time. Then when I was 16, I went along and worked for him full-time.
Okay.
Rode a few point-to-pointers.
Nice. So the jockey route was where you were heading? Well,
I wasn't really sure, to be honest with you, because I was quite tall, although at the time, when I was 16, 17, I was quite light. I was still quite tall. But I rode a few winners pointing, didn't do anything particularly spectacular, and I thought I wanted to change from being in a hunting point-to-point yard, and went to the West Country, worked for Kevin Bishop for a year, really as a pupil assistant amateur, and ended up riding quite a few winners for Les Kennard and people like that, and it really snowballed from there, and I ended up being a professional jockey by default. I don't know how it happened really, just one of those things, and ended up with Josh Gifford for a few years, and eventually in the West Country with the Barons, David and Jenny Barons.
Okay. And you did very well actually as a jockey. In fact, Wikipedia describes you as a relatively successful jump jockey. Are you happy with that description?
Well, yeah, a lot of people say I used to ride like a policeman, like that. I was tall and lanky and had my own way of doing it, but I enjoyed it. I rode 2 Hennessy winners and a Welsh National Irish Gold Cup, and had some good horses to ride for David Barons. Seagram. I won quite a few on him before I got injured, and I loved it. I love the riding, and I immediately I started to work for the Barons, as having been the gift that I wanted to train. I just suddenly was fixed on the training side of it, and the riding. I just worked out that by riding for a few years, it was going to, from coming from no background in racing, it was going to get me involved in the racing world, really. Yeah. So I rode for a few years. I struggled like hell with my weight. It wasn't easy. Didn't really enjoy it that much. But eventually, I ended up having an accident at home, broke my leg in 1989. I always said that was my lucky break, because by the time I got my leg fixed and that, I'd got too heavy and I couldn't ride. And I ended up spending 2 years as assistant to David and Jenny, which ended us winning the national with Seagram. So I had a great ground and was just completely hooked on the training side of it.
Okay. So then what led to you coming down to Ditchit and getting started?
After Seagram won the national in 91, I decided it was time that I'd been down with David and Jenny for long enough, and I wanted to do my own thing. And God knows where I was going to start. I had no idea really. And just one day there was an advert in the Racing Post or Sporting Life, whatever it was at the time, with the yard in Ditchit for rent. Jim Old had been here for a little while, and Paul Barber and Jim Old had gone their separate ways. And Paul Barber, who's now my landlord, obviously a great friend, wanted somebody else to take the yard on that he'd just built. And I remember this advert in the paper. It just said 20-box yard in Somerset for rent. Successful applicant will have the support of the landlord and a couple of horses. So Richard Barber, actually, who's Paul's brother, marked my card that was this advert was going to be him. And as soon as I picked the paper up, Dad actually, I remember now, he rang me in the morning and said, "Have you seen the advert in the paper for the yard in Somerset?" I said, "No, but I think I know it's Paul Barber's." So when Dad gave me the number, rang up Paul. That was on a Saturday. The next day, Sunday, I came up and had an interview and clicked it with him straight away. I think I must have told him I was going to be champion trainer one day, and probably didn't believe me. But anyway, he had belief in me, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and you started out with, it was only about 8 horses down here.
I brought 8 horses up here, and I think it was October '91, and there was, like I said, 20, just over 20 boxes here, and that was a start. And
you mentioned there that you said to Paul that you would be champion trainer one day. That may have been a tongue-in-cheek comment at the time, but totally. I'm assuming there was no lack of ambition.
I know, no, I was probably too ambitious really, but yeah, I was ambitious. All I wanted to do was train winners and train good winners, and I never ever thought about being champion training in those days, but just wanted to have some good horses and be successful, and was always positive and driven and ambitious. You have to be.
I can guess the answer to this is probably very, but how different was Manor House Stables back when you first started there?
Well, when I first came here, we just had one wood chip or weather gallop, and I said there was 28 boxes, of which 20 were probably usable. Well, now in the 2 yards we've got, in the top yard in Manor Farm Stables, we've got 82 boxes, and where I live a mile away, we've got over 60, 4 all-weather gallops. Just massively improved everything. Spent a lot of money investing into the yard, a lot of support from Mr. Barber and the Barber family, and just built it up to what it is now. Training
is something that I personally always thought I'd love to do myself, but financially just never knew how I'd get going. Obviously you had the backing of Paul Barber, but how did you get things going to start with?
Well, I started off with nothing. Paul was a great supporter, and he had a couple of horses with me. Financially, he was brilliant in the fact I've always paid my way. I always paid rent, and he paid training fees. We've always had that relationship from the beginning. But just to help me, I can remember I think he deferred the rent for the first 6 months.
Okay.
Just to help me, because I literally came from a family. Like I said, my dad was in the police force. We lived in a police house in Bristol at one time. We, weren't a wealthy family, and I managed to save up about £10,000 from when I was riding in those years, and that's all I started with, £10,000.
So I had to make a job in the bakery.
Well, I had to make that work, that money work for me, and I've always been independent, and started, and I never knew anything about running a business. I had no idea whatsoever, but to me a lot of it's common sense. Okay. So you have to work hard, reinvest in the business, and you can only spend what you can afford and keep on improving, and that, by Paul not letting me off that rent for the first 6 months was massive help to me, which obviously I paid him back. But we also had a great relationship. But he, as I said, he pays the training fees the same as everybody else, and vice versa. And I pay rent for the part of the business now that I use off of them, and it's worked really, really well. So very, very lucky. It was a very lucky phone call, and I always say me breaking my leg was my lucky break.
And you'd not long been training yourself in your own right, but you got established pretty quickly, and it was only 2 years before you had your first Grade 1, I believe.
Seymour Indians was my first Grade 1 winner. He won the Feltham. I mean, I thought I was going slow. I mean, the first year I think I had 10 winners, and I had 20. I was going the right way, but it wasn't fast enough for me. Right. I know I never had a Cheltenham winner to 99, where we had an amazing time, which we'll go on to in a minute. But my first Grade 1 winner was Seymour Indians. He won the Feltham. Probably 2 or 3 years into, because Seymour Indians was the first horse I think we ever bought at the public auction.
Okay.
So that turned out good that he won a Grade 1. But it was slow. To me, it was slow going to start with. But we started training a few winners, and we're doing okay. But nothing spectacular. Well, I didn't think it was. But I wanted to be doing more. But it's really the '99 Cheltenham Festival, and I won the Arco flagship with Borealis on the Tuesday. The Wednesday, KAUTO won the Champion Chase, and Seymour Business won the Gold Cup on Thursday. I mean, stuff that dreams are made of.
Yeah.
That was it. Then that was a career and a life changing 3 days, because all of a sudden then things changed.
Right. So how did they change?
Because suddenly then people thought, across this team know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Horses started coming out. John Hale started sending me horses. Andy Stewart, access to getting better horses. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how good a trainer you are. You need the ammunition. You need the players in your team.
Yeah. And
it just changed from then onwards, and never looked back really.
And that must have been some feeling, I should think, having three
big. I can't explain. I mean, I used to go in from Cheltenham before then in a right old stressy, because horses that I ran and won, and then look back and think, how did I ever think they would win? Because you're keen and you want to, but I actually thought all three of them had big chances, because but never dreamt they would go and win. All three would go and win. I always had a lot of belief in Flagship, and EQUINAME was a hard horse to train, and he'd come back from injury and won the Picture Chandler when it was a handicap. Okay. And I thought he'd improved enough to go close in the Champion Chase, and he won. And then Seymour Business was just progressing nice, and we just did I think he put some blinkers on him about 10 days before the Gold Cup, and it was like I'm 2 different horses.
Really?
It was just like astonishing improvement in it, because he always ran with them after. So the first time he had blinkers on, he won the Gold Cup. And I should never forget, in the Manor here, on the Tuesday night, we'd won the Arco with the flagship, the Arco with flagship Borealis. So we came in, had a few drinks, celebrated. Thought, that's brilliant. We've had our Cheltenham win, and now we'll enjoy the rest of the week. Next day, KAUTO won the Champion Chase. We were in all the next night on the Wednesday night. I think it was thinking, well, that's it now. Look at that, 2 Grade. Then Seymour won, and we were like here for the rest of the week. The following week, it was just an amazing time, and so lucky to had those horses in for that clip, because that definitely, as I said, changed my life and my career.
That would have been back in the days when the festival was 3 days, I think, as well. So it was all 3 days. You had the big
1, 2, 3. It was astonishing, and it had been Mr. Barber's ambition in his life. He wanted to win a Cheltenham Gold Cup. Apparently, he one of his ambitions was to milk 1,000 cows and to win a Cheltenham Gold Cup. So we cracked that for him. He actually went on and won another with DENMAN, and he's actually milking 3,000 cows now. So I've got to get that 3rd one for him. But I know that was amazing. That was an amazing turning point of everything. Yeah.
And of course, from there, your success really snowballed, and you had some incredible horses in the yard, the likes of KAUTO Star, DENMAN, Seymour Business, Masterminded, Big Bucks, Silvagnac Conti.
Nicholls.
We could sit here just listing off your horses, but having those horses around the yard must have been pretty special.
They're just incredible, and I think the one festival when we won nearly all the big races, bar got beat a short head with Celestia Haley and the Champion Hurdle. They were just astonishing days. To have those horses, it's just I don't know what I did to deserve to get them. You pinch yourself, because it never happened again. I mean, we had great horses, we've got some great horses, and we'll have great horses in the future. We'll never have that calibre of horse all in one yard at one time. Well, I think Willie Mullins is probably doing a good impression of it now, Gordon, but they were like the best of the best.
Yeah.
If you think what those horses did when KAUTO and DENMAN, just amazing to have 2 of them at the same time. Yeah. It's astonishing, really. And they were amazing horses, and it was just, you had to pinch myself at the time. I mean, everyone sort of thinks, you're lucky, you are so lucky having those sort of horses. Yeah, you are lucky having those horses, but God, the pressure with those horses is immense, and you have to be able to deal with the pressure. And I think, touching wood, that's one thing I've been able to do, is over the years deal with the pressure.
Okay. Can you enjoy it? While it's happening, or is it only?
I think once you look back now and think they were amazing. Yeah, of course I was enjoying it. Yeah. There's a lot of pressure as well, as I just said. Enjoy. I don't know whether that's the right word. I feel very lucky and very humbled to have had those horses, and I've enjoyed every minute of getting the best out of them and doing. But it's just like, of course, I look back now and think with a lot of pride and think, God, we had so much fun then. But it was hard.
Okay.
In a nice way, Hud. I'm not,
Okay.
you know, some people will not understand what I'm trying to say. You know, think, oh, you're lucky to have those horses, but there's a lot of things with those horses, a responsibility, a lot of pressure, got to do it right. When you've got two horses like going head to head in a Gold Cup, you don't want anyone thinking, oh, one's going to get favouritism. You have to, no matter who's involved, we've always played it straight. They all run on their merits.
Okay.
Trying to, you know, so there was a lot involved, but I'm very, very lucky to have horses like that. Brilliant days.
It's a weight of expectation, I suppose, not just from owners, but from the public and the media.
Yeah, of course they were. You know, they were expected to win every time, so we tried to do our best to make sure they did. And if they didn't, you were thinking, oh God, what have I done? But it was brilliant times, and you know, enjoyed it. And you know, it's almost like when they've all gone on, everyone sort of thought, things for a year or two, you failed, or it's only because you haven't failed. You just all of a sudden, if you had all those horses, they're going to come to end at one time. It's like United of what was it when those golden years when they had all those young players.
That's right. Yeah.
Was it the year '99? I can't remember what it was. There was Giggsy and all those top players, Beckham and Scholes, and you have an amazing team. They win everything, didn't they? Mm-hmm. But when that team then gets retired, it's not quite so. It's, you know, but you know, Alex would probably say you'd be lucky to have all those players. I'm lucky to have all those horses. It's been amazing, but we're still trying to find some more now.
So, sort of day to day, what is it that really motivates you? Is it purely motivated by winners?
We're trying to train winners, and also being able to see like the future for a lot of the young horses. For example, I've got a lot of beautiful young horses that Flicker Voyous, Heritage, and Rillo. I could go on and lovely young horses that people say, oh, they're going to run at Cheltenham, they're going to run at Cheltenham. No, I don't want to run them at Cheltenham because I see them in 2 years' time being throwed on Clanders, Beau, so on and so on. But you see, you've got to give them time. So you've got to try and get the balance right between knowing what you can get stuck into and run and get on with now, and what you need to just have a little bit, half an eye onto the future. Okay. Rome wasn't built in a day is a great sign in mine, and you've got to let those horses mature. One wrong move early on, or one sort of hard race, when it's wrong, you can easily ruin their career. So getting up and seeing those young horses every day, and then like thinking, well, we're schooling, and we got like this weekend, for example, we've got runners everywhere. We've been a bit quiet in January, and it's like, I can't wait to get going. We've got, you know, schooling, we've got loads of runners. Just the excitement of it all just is brilliant. And winners, like Monday, we had two, you know, been a bit quiet, 2 runners, 2 winners. They both bolted in and plumped in. And that's brilliant. You know, you feel really enjoy it. It's just, but it is basically, it's all about football teams, all about winning, and with us is winning. That's why you do it. That's why you get out. You want to win races, and win the many races you can with whatever level. I've got a lot more patience. As I said, I'm prepared to give a lot more horses a lot more time, which you need to if you're going to look, you know, give them longevity. But at the same time, I just love the game.
You have got a reputation actually for keeping horses going, and I suppose that must come about through the patience, really.
Yeah. And doing the right thing with them. Not one wrong move, you can ruin everything, as I said. But you've got to try and you know, and give those hopefully Frodons and Planets of Bows have been great average horses that just keep on improving. Well, Surname as well was another one. You know, if you've got belief in them, never give up.
And we've mentioned the King George. Of course, it's a race you've won 11 times, a staggering 11 times. What is it about that race, or perhaps the way that you train, that's made you so successful in that race?
I don't know. I mean, it's a magical race. It's mid-season. You know, you've got to have a plan in place. You know, you can't just willy-nilly pick and think. Well, I mean, KAUTO was a bit different because we ended up. I remember one year when we won the Old Rome, Betfair Chase, Tingle Creek, and King George. That was some sort of run. You wouldn't do that with everything, but like Clownard had a plan with him. Yeah, get him to his best for that day, and he was always going to horse that suited Kempton. Conti suited Kempton. KAUTO obviously did. Seymour Business, but then there's like with Seymour Business won a Gold Cup and KAUTO won 2 Gold Cups. So it's a good race for horses who can go on and win Gold Cups. It's not a race just for Kempton. It's not just a Kempton specialist track, but it's a great race. I don't know why I've had the right horses at the right time, that you believe that it would suit the track. They've got to have a bit of pace, they've got to stay, and they've got to have a lot of class. You know, people think it's an easy track, but they go end-to-end gallop round there. You've got to stay. Yeah. There's no such thing a horse that doesn't stay wins at King George. And we just prepare them to, you know, I don't know, it just seemed to be one of those races. It's been brilliant for us. I mean, you know, who God knows. See, KAUTO Star won 5, and Clan's well on the way. Could, you know, things being equal, win another couple. Yeah. I love the races, but as a Tingle Creek's another one. I won 10 Tingle Creeks. I think it's just amazing races, and that's a different race, completely different race. But it's having the right horse and having them ready on the day.
Yeah. It's amazing, actually, going back to you mentioned Quarter Star. I've forgotten that season that he did Tingle Creek and at King George. I mean, that is quite remarkable, isn't it? To go from 2 to 3 miles.
I know. And he was so good. I mean, he was a horse who had enough toe to win a staying 2 miler. He had speed and stamina. Didn't get many like that. He could gallop all day. Gold Cup probably wasn't the 3 1/4 Cheltenham probably wasn't his trip.
Okay.
But we had enough class to get away with it twice. Yeah. And the third, when he got beat by Denman that one year, I'd probably paused it up by running him at Ascot. We had a little setback. And I've learned my lesson. That's why I'm not running Clan again this year, to go fresh there. The year after, we went from Kempton to Cheltenham. And, horses can be very, very effective, very fit and very fresh. People say we don't run them enough. You've got to just get the balance right.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to get the very best out of them, like Clan is best when he's brilliantly fresh and fit.
Okay. I suppose that's it. It's understanding each individual, isn't it? It's understanding what they need. And
knowing them as individuals, simply.
That's interesting. So there's a sense there that, despite the fact that you won with Denman, that you were almost disappointed is probably the wrong word, but you were annoyed with yourself that KAUTO didn't win.
Yeah, it was literally. Yeah, I thought, what have I done? KAUTO's everyone's horse, and just cost him winning 3 because his mates just beat him. But I'd say I was probably being a bit hard on myself. He did actually come back from Ascot lame when he won the Ascot Chase, and we had an infection in his foot for a while. So I went off the back of that. And it probably didn't quite happen that year, and Denman completely outstayed him. Completely outstayed him, but an early finish Denman. But I mean, amazing horses we're talking about. Those names gets me excited thinking about it, and they were brilliant days.
And Denman, as you mentioned, a phenomenal horse really. What he did, as you say, to sort of bottom himself in the Gold Cup, he then got a heart problem, I think, afterwards, didn't he? To then come back and win a Hennessy under top weight. I know, it was astonishing. Because but he took us a while to get back to that, but we got there and he won that. And then I think he finished second again in the Gold Cup, didn't he? That's right, yeah.
Did he finish second to KAUTO?
I think he did, yes.
Yeah, he did. And then I think they ran again and were is it Imperial? No, Long Run beat them, didn't he?
That's right. Yes.
And Imperial. So I mean, it was amazing. They kept on running in the Gold Cup, even the problems they'd had. But I'd never felt Denman was quite the same after he'd won that Gold Cup and he had that heart problem. Took him a long. It really bottomed him, that Gold Cup. It was only because his durability, his toughness, probably made him come back. A lot of horses. I actually never forget. EQUINAME's one who won a champion chase. Put everything in. That was a pinnacle. He never did anything again afterwards. Nothing. And that sort of like peaked him, but just bottomed him as well. Okay. So it's hard winning those big, tough Cheltenham races, and some of them don't bounce back, but some do. Yeah. That's what KAUTO was amazing. I mean, the races, hard races, he used to give himself a full, and he still come back for more.
We've mentioned already some of the amazing races that you've got on the CV. Are there any races still left that you haven't yet won, or sort of, some glaring omissions, anything that you'd really like to tick off before you finish up?
I'd love to win another Gold Cup. That would be, if I could win a 5th Gold Cup, that would be just magical. Okay. Because I don't think no one's ever trained more than 5 Gold Cup winners. It would be equaling the record, I think. Right. With Vincent Bryan, I think, or Fort Warwins, one of those two. If not, they both trained 4 or 5. But anyway, I'd love to train a 5th Gold Cup. That would be just awesome. I think that's what all the races out again, I'd like to win that game. So there is an element of sort of you record breaking is something that motivates you a little bit. 3,000 winners, for example, was that a motivation? Yeah, well, that was a good one, and now I'm definitely firmly set on 4th. Okay. Martin is one of the most jump races. If I can just keep going 100 or so a year for the next few years, we touch in word. We all say fit and healthy. Then you should do 4,000 winners would be great. Okay. It's not because you're beating Martin, because 4,000 would be a great figure for anyone to beat. Absolutely. And a 5th Gold Cup would be brilliant. Okay. I mean, whether we win another Trainers' Championship or not, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that, because it's great. I've been so lucky to be where I am, and if we just concentrate more on quality now than quantity, which is what I'm probably doing, it's not an issue. But the 4,000 would be magical. Mm-hmm. Martin Pope was quite a rival of yours, wasn't he? Oh, he was, yeah. He was right. I mean, I think I've finished second 7 times to him in the Trainers' Championship. He was a brilliant trainer, and we got cross. We had a few words, but you see that all the time with football managers. Yeah. And if you do that in racing, it's bad. But we are great mates now. Not great mates. I mean, we're great friends now. And if I see him at the races, we'll have a chat. And in fact, I had a drink with him. I shook his hand. He talked the other day, and he wrote me a when I got my OBE the other day, he wrote me a lovely letter. I'd love to print it one day. It was just like so much respect, and I knew sort of all the letters I got for getting that OBE. that was the most special one of all.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed that. So, you know, it just shows you can have rivalry and you can sort of have a few little dust-ups and handbags at dawn and all that sort of stuff, but you actually get over that and move on. And, you know, I always had huge respect for him as a trainer. I was just so frustrated I could never beat him.
Receiving notification that you got an OBE, that must have been pretty special.
Yeah, that was special because I had no idea that was happening. And you just get a letter in the post. It's just fantastic. And I see that it's good for Team Ditchit and everyone who's been, you know, part of what I've done. And a lot of people play their part, and you're only as good as your team. Yeah, it's my business. I make the decisions. I take all the flack. I have to do it all. But it is a better team as Team Ditchit. So that was a very special, and I can't wait to go to Buckingham Palace in May. For that great day, and yeah, it was special to get that.
And I think the answer to this is very possibly going to be quite short, because I'm assuming you probably don't have a lot of time. But what does Paul Nicholls get up to outside of racing?
I do enjoy going fishing from time to time when we get down. So I love going sea fishing. To be honest with you, if you're flat out and we don't get time to do anything else. I always have a nice holiday for 10 days. I do like travelling a little bit, and I try and get a week, 10 days away a couple of times, 3 times a year. I enjoy that. I enjoy spending time with my 3 daughters when I can. I'm busy. Megan's obviously riding on the flat with 2 younger ones. I see when I can, and they come and stay with me. I enjoy time like that. But that's hard to do because every weekend I'm racing. And, racing takes your life over. It's 24/7, and you have to, made a few sacrifices along the way, and you have to give everything to it, because if you don't, you're not going to end up where you are. I think that's probably the same in all sports, and all sportsmen probably tell you the same in whatever they do. For all the success you've had, there's been sacrifices along the way. But what I do, there's not too many days off. You're doing something you're always on it all the time.
Excellent. Well, Paul, thank you very much for your time.
Not at all.
It's been a real pleasure. You've had a hugely successful career to date. Let's hope you have a lot more success. So, wishing you best of luck for the future. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.